It's been nearly 3 years since GTA 5 was released, and the game is still being praised and enjoyed to this day. When it comes to Rockstar series, the studio has created something of a textbook example of a template other developers copy from. However, when it comes to GTA 5, there are elements that others are yet to copy and implement in their own games. When GTA 5 was first revealed, we were eager to learn what kind of protagonist will we take up control this time. Will it be a street-level gangster like CJ from San Andreas, a typical thug like Nico, or someone more sophisticated, associated with the nightlife like Lewis from The Ballad of Gay Tony, we wondered. Well, it was all of the above and none at the same time. Soon after, we are informed that in GTA 5 we'll have not one, not two, but 3 playable characters, which seemed confusing at the time. Who were they? What brought them together? Will we have to control them at the same time? Those are some of the questions that made us skeptical for weeks to come. But when the game finally released, we discovered that this was one of Rockstar's best moves ever. When it comes to a believable hero, or in this case anti-hero, the character's actions and criminal activities have to correspond with their personality and background. A kingpin's right hand isn't the type to steal cars after all. Drive-bys and turf wars suited CJ perfectly, while Nico's journey wouldn't resonate with us as much if, let's say, Tony was in the center of the GTA 4 story. Giving us Michael, Trevor, and Franklin was a nearly ideal solution, which resulted in missions and activities that simply felt right. Apart from that, each character represented a certain group. Franklin was an example of a young African-American caught up in the gang war. Michael was a retired mobster, reminding us of the traditional gangster stereotype, and Trevor was the perfect guy to live in a trailer park and have a meth lab in his backyard. With the combination of 3 of them, we could experience different crime worlds as if we were watching Breaking Bad, Straight Outta Compton, and The Godfather at the same time. Our heroes had separate missions but would cross paths every once in a while, and if one of them bored or annoyed us, with the press of a button we could teleport ourselves miles away to some dump where Trevor was just waking up from a night of drugs and moonshine. Best of all, however, was the finale, where Rockstar took full advantage of the elements, giving us different perspectives and alternative endings, establishing the characters even more as complex and separate entities that weren't exactly on good terms most of the time. A skilled studio is yet to try to implement this gameplay element in their own game. Around the same time, a lot of games seem to take a liking to heists. Payday 2 expanded upon the ideas of the first game, while Battlefield Hardline tried to give us its own take on the good old cops and robbers game we used to play as kids. Payday 2 is certainly the winner here, letting us experience how a true heist could look like, while the newest Battlefield quickly turned into a chaotic mess of trigger-happy cops. GTA's heists from the story mode were certainly some of the most exciting missions, and not because of the profits from their completion. All modern sandbox games are pretty straightforward. Take Mad Max, Far Cry, and Assassin's Creed for example. They all boil down to collectathons, escort missions, and destroying all of the red markers on the map, not giving us much freedom with how we approach the tasks at hand. Sure, we can decide how to get there, what weapon to use, and how to ambush a seemingly powerful group of enemies, but rarely do we get to strategize and try optional approaches to our objectives. While GTA's heists weren't a revolution when it comes to mission structure, planning and trying out different allies for different jobs was certainly fun, and allowed us for even more player-generated experiences. More games have to let us strategize and learn from our mistakes like that. The ideas of heists and much more are expanded upon in the multiplayer component, GTA Online. Fans have been yearning for an online GTA experience for years, and with GTA Online, Rockstar finally delivered. Despite some hiccups and problems at the release and issues every once in a while, this element is what makes GTA 5 stand out. The developers of action-adventure and sandbox games are trying their best to give us the longest playthrough times and hundreds of side quests, but rarely manage to keep us invested more than 20 hours into a game. Just like Metal Gear Solid 5 proved, a sandbox game doesn't have to sacrifice its identity while implementing an online mode, and a good multiplayer mode is what keeps gamers coming back for more. That is certainly what GTA Online does with its various DLCs and Rockstar support. Please developers, don't give us fetch quests, give us a chance to fool around with friends in the worlds we grew accustomed to in the single-player experience. When it was revealed that we will venture back to Los Santos in GTA 5, we were over the moon. A more modern reimagining of Las Venturas and San Fierro got our hopes up, and then we realized that Los Santos was the only city available in the next installment of the famous gangster simulator. Surprisingly, we weren't disappointed, as quality over quantity proved to serve the urban areas well. Apart from few settlements and towns, Los Santos is the only city in the game, but it makes up for it in detail and scale. Rockstar's template for regions we got to unlock during the story is what other developers take cue from to this day. And it got quite old, mind you. While excuses such as a broken bridge or the police chasing us when we left our hometown were believable back in Vice City or GTA 3, it doesn't work anymore. Giving us the entire world to explore in the game's first hours didn't mean we would get bored soon. It meant quite the opposite. There are still back alleys and secret areas we haven't explored, and one bigger, overwhelming city proved to be more fun than a metropolis scattered across 3 areas like in GTA 4. It's only natural that developers still do that to control the story pacing and player progression, giving us new locations when we get tired of the old ones, but overall it limits our freedom. Aren't sandbox games supposed to be all about freedom? Take Arkham Knight for example. If we wanted to clear all the Riddler challenges or get the Man-Bat for good in the early stages of the game, we had to stop after a few missions, because the game didn't want us to progress too far and too quick. In the end, we had to go back to battling Arkham Knight and Scarecrow before we could unlock other parts of Gotham and go after the supporting villains, which honestly were sometimes even more fun than the main baddies. Take Bethesda's games for example. After a small intro, almost the entire world is given to us when the real game starts. And then we get to craft our own story. Those who want to finish the main quest will do so anyway, so why artificially limit the player's freedom? Rockstar knew that. I, for example, went as far north as I could when I started GTA 5, only to see how far the world stretches. After an hour of exploration, I eagerly got back to the story mode, and despite knowing how the world outside of Los Santos looked like, GTA 5 still managed to surprise me, even in the closing hours of the main story. Sandbox games should focus on freedom and not limit our sense of wonder. The genre is constantly evolving, and with a big sandbox game coming out every month or two, it's about time other developers caught up. Copying those old elements from GTA 3 just simply doesn't work anymore, and it's about time to try something new. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to GamePressure.com.